Thank you, Rabbi Green. Before I came up here, my mother just said to me, please don't speak. So I am under the obligation of would aim, but I just mentioned, she actually said, please don't speak for very long. And I guess that's all in the eye of the, it's all relative. Well, first of all, I want to thank everyone for coming. I want to thank Stanley and the Crampton family for choosing Epstein Hebrew Academy as the venue for his annual shiur that he gives to commemorate the yahrzeit of his father, Julius Crampton, all the shalom. Just briefly, from an introductory standpoint, I just want to just tell a real quick story that I heard. I actually heard it in the name of Rav Chaim Vital, but I also later heard it in the name of some other Gedolim, but I heard it in the name of Rav Chaim Vital, so I'm going to say it over in the name of Rav Chaim Vital. For those that don't know, Rav Chaim Vital was he was a Goin who lived just at the time of the beginning of the Tekufa of the Achronim. He was a Talmud of the Arizal, just after the Beis Yosef, right when the switch from the Rishonim to the Achronim happened. And as the story goes, Rav Chaim Vital's Talmidim asked him a question, and they said to him, if in the previous Doros, in the previous generations, if they were not Zocha to bring Mashiach, how are we in our door going to be Zocha to bring Mashiach? If the time of the Nevi'im, the time of David HaMelech, of the Tanoim, of Rabbi Akiva, of Rabbi Yehuda Anasi, the Amoraim, Ravina, Ravashi, the Rishonim, Rashi, Rambam, if their generations were not Zocha to bring Mashiach, how is our generation going to be Zocha to bring Mashiach? And the answer that Rav Chaim Vital gave was that we are midgets standing on the shoulders of giants. And what happens when a midget, and I apologize, that might not be the politically correct, what happens when a little person stands on the shoulders of giants? So what happens? So you get just a little bit higher. You could reach a little bit higher. Last week, we started the 74th year at Epstein Hebrew Academy. And Rabbi Green and myself and David Friedman, we were in Boston this summer for a day school conference, and there were a number of schools there, and no school even came close to 74 years. And we were talking among the people there, and not just the schools that were at this day school conference, but no schools, or very few schools, even in the entire North America, have been in existence for as long as Epstein Hebrew Academy. This year we started, thank God, with approximately 15% increase in enrollment over last year, hired 9 new teachers, 13 new families, so we have a lot to be proud of. A lot of it, of course, is due to Rabbi Green and his administrative team, which we're very proud of. But amongst all the pride that we have and the successes that we're, thank God, B'li'ayin hara seeing, within that all, we recognize that we are standing on the shoulders of those that came before us, the generations that came before us. And in particular, we talk about tonight Julius Crampton, and I probably might be accused of being one of the only people that ever would call Julius Crampton a giant. Of course, I'm not talking about physical stature. I'm talking about what he meant to the academy, what he meant to the St. Louis Jewish community. So we're particularly proud to be able to host this evening. And if you just bear with me for one more moment, I saw something over Shabbos that in this last week's parsha that I thought was poignant, and something that I thought maybe I'd want to mention here this evening. At the end of Parsha Shoftim, we see the halacha, or the mitzvah, of Eglah Arufa. which is one of the, I guess, one of the more peculiar mitzvahs, and for lack of a better word, one of the more peculiar mitzvahs in the Torah. And Egel Arufa, of course, is the halacha that if a dead body, a person who was murdered, was found in the wilderness, then the halacha is that they come and they measure all the different cities that are around, and whatever city is closest to where the dead body was found, then the Ziknei Ha'ir, the elders of that city, come out, and they bring a carbon, and there's a kapara, and the kohanim come, and it's an entire procedure that actually is very detailed. And many Meforshim, including Rashi, ask a very obvious question, and that is, would we think for a moment that the Ziknei Ha'ir were responsible for this person's death? Would we ever think that for a moment? And Rashi sort of touches on that, and he gives a hint of an answer, and he says that the Ziknei Ha'ir come and they atone, and they say, we did not give sustenance to this person. And it sort of answers the question, but really we're talking about not a person who was just found dead. We're talking about a person who was murdered. So just because a city didn't give him sustenance, how does that atone for someone who was murdered? And I think some of the Rishonim, and there are people here, the Rabbanim, Stanley can correct me if I'm wrong, I think the Rishonim actually say that Egel Arufa is a chok, that maybe there is no reason for it, but I heard something that I thought was a really beautiful yesod, and I wanted to share it real quickly, and I think it plays in well to Julius Crampman. Everything that lives in the world needs fuel, some sort of a fuel. Like your car needs gas. If you don't have gas in your car, it's dead, as I well know. Plants need water, they need sunlight. A fire needs fuel, it needs oxygen. People, of course, need to be sustained. And how are they sustained? They're sustained with food, they're sustained with water. Chazal point out that people need something else. And that is what I think plays into this concept of Egel Arufa, that the Ziknei Ha'ir come and they say, we did not help this person, we didn't give him food for the way, we didn't treat him right, we didn't do anything to this person. Is that a person doesn't just need food and water. A person needs meaningful relationships. A person needs to have people who care about him. And this person who was murdered, the Ziknei Ha'ir come and they atone and they say, we